Hello there, this is the AnYPony and I have a question for you. Can you explain all the coincidences in the pilot episodes? Well, not long ago I released my review of Friendship is Magic Part 1 and 2 with dBPony as a guest. And at some point I complained about all those coincidences and plot conveniences those episodes throw at us, and I asked Digi to explain those. All he had to say was destiny. Even though that might just have been the case because I wrote the script this way. Great. Now I wonder what his actual reply would have been. Anyways. Miss AwesomePony left a comment below mentioned video reminding me that the challenges that allowed the Remain 5 to showcase their elements of harmony were set up intentionally by Nightmare Moon. So I asked out loud in the comments why Nightmare Moon would create exactly 5 challenges fitting for them and their particular elements. And people started answering to my question. A lot. So much in such a short time that I actually decided to make this a topic of this very Ask video. Kind of reminds me how I came up with this series to begin with. So, you believe you can give a reasonable explanation for a plot so improbable that Spike getting a real good episode for himself is more likely? Heyo! Well, be my guest. So, what do I have? Twilight gaining knowledge of Nightmare Moon and the elements of harmony just one day before the 1,000 years of exile to the moon end. Then Twilight runs into exactly 5 mayors that all decide to befriend her, even though she herself is not really interested in befriending them. Those very same 5 mayors will just turn out to be the elements of harmony later on. Also, those 5 stick together even though they had not been all this close and follow Twilight. And finally, the group comes across exactly 5 challenges or trials, one for each of Twilight's quote-unquote friends, to show off their respective elements ranging from life-threatening danger to ridiculous shenanigans. And while we are on it, what the buck is Celestia's deal? In the end of the episode, she claims to have known Twilight would succeed. Now I run into the same convoluted nonsense as in my Crystal Empire review. Either Celestia really was aware that shit was about to happen and was blindly trusting in Twilight's success, which raises the question, why did she wait until Twilight addresses her about the issue one day before Nightmare Moon's actual return, and only then sends her out to make friends? Or, to repeat myself from my very first MLP review, why is Celestia risking all of Equestria only to test Twilight? Alternatively, Celestia was not aware of what happened and just pretended to have been after Twilight won. In that case, she is really just a horrible leader. And that is why I am a supporter of the new Lunar Republic, because the younger princess seems to be far more reason. Oh, right. She was an insane evil nutcase at the point. All hail the Order of Chaos? Or I'll just stick with the Changeling Swarm. Anyways, feel free to explain all or maybe just a selection of those aspects in the YouTube comments or in reply videos. But keep in mind, short and to the point wins. However, if you are planning to go down the Celestia had it all planned out that way, what 90% of you are probably going to do, I need a bit more than just that. Also, keep in mind, if somebody already posted your idea in a way you couldn't have said it better yourself, just give it a thumbs up. So, first things first, welcome to Team ANY, Cypher and NitroBrony. Those 2 gentlegons are going to help me delve through all your replies to my Ask videos from now on. For this episode, Cypher gave me a hand and did an awesome job cropping all the comments out and clustering them together. Thanks, bro. Last time I asked you guys what offends you within MLP, and I have to admit I was a bit worried if this idea might backfire, turning the comment section into a rage fest where bronies start fighting amongst each other. But I could not have been more wrong. A comment by Hellripper let me realize that having the opportunity to get stuff that bothers you off your chest in form of a reply to my question can turn into a somehow cathartic experience. I really should have seen that coming. I mean, getting stuff off your chest is pretty much what I do in my videos all the time. But quite a few people explained that they were not offended at all, including a video response by WolfX who explains to me that even snips and snails have their place in the show, and one by Michael Croce who elaborated how the only aspect that does offend him about MLP is when people get offended about little things in the first place. Cloud Cuckoo Country even wishes for the show to be more offensive, or to take more risk as he puts it. But nevertheless, he himself had something he already felt offended by. And he was not the only one. Garkai Friends 555, Mistress of Yaoi and Classic TV Guy shared his opinion towards the moral of feeling pinky keen. Brony1998 even made a whole episode analysis explaining his dislikes. Jacob Dickens on the other hoof does not see the problem in the moral itself, but rather the way it gets interpreted. By the way, funny gag in the opening of the video, Jacob. Other recurring themes were the dissatisfaction about the endless struggles of the CMC, the offense about the fact that there are gender roles in Equestria after all, and the lack of males, even more specific, the lack of male alicorns. Talking about alicorns, the whole business about Celestia not being a queen instead of a princess came up multiple times as well.
You're not really a princess, you just took the title because it sounds cute. Take some authority! You're a queen! Queen it up, bitch!
Two more aspects that came up rather often were the treatment of Spike by the other characters as well as the show itself, and of course the big one, Derpy. While Fluxacry, Snivy Iron and Hellripper were offended by the change itself, Awesome Angel, Dominic Durant, Cody 2819 and Mary Wyatt 92 went a step further and explained how Derpy was a good example for kids to see that challenged people are a part of life. Instead, now, people get taught that challenge characters should be censored. Yes, great job turning a good message into its opposite. But there's still more. The following few complaints are issues that I can totally relate to and that kind of gave me a bad feeling as well. Sky Silverwing and Cry of Pain picked up my complaints about Snips and Snail and talked about male stereotypes in the show in general. Daniel Cross brought up the use of the word mule as an insult. I guess those 16 thumbs ups show that Daniel and I are not the only ones feeling that way. dBPony is not easily offended as we know, but when he is, the fact that some characters or the show itself take a moral high ground plays usually a part. Evie is the best brings up Dump Spike from Spike at Your Service. Yeah, who has seen my review about that one knows that I do agree with that issue. Voice of Reason brings up his favorite complaint about lessons that had to be told. But well, he has still a very good point there. Well, Phoenix Wright, I am happy somebody finally addressed that issue. I feel very insulted myself all the time. Other ones are Lightning Dust's treatments at the end of Wonderbolt Academy brought up by PyDisliker, the Reformation spell in Keep Calm and Flutter On by Atna93 and Purplefire531, Seductive Rarity by Sylar Cookie, Tenyo Skirus and Curtis Bottlicker, The Genocide of the Pinkie Pie Clones by Sean Way and Kevin Watson, and Apple Bloom unliking Twist. Yeah, I have heard the counter question, did she really? But as far as the show goes, yes. First, Twist seems to be Apple Bloom's only friend and the two spend time with each other, but as soon as Twist gets her cutie mark and Apple Bloom meets Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo, we never even see her talk to Twist again. This is actually an issue that gets addressed in a little subplot in Past Sins. Read it! I really hope for the CMC that they all get the cutie marks at the very same moment, otherwise that would put real strains on the trio's friendship. Actually, if I think about it, this sounds like a really potent premise for an episode. Giving only one of the CMC her cutie mark and keeping it that way for a while, and letting the girls figure out that their friendship is more than their search for their cutie marks. One aspect that did not sit well, at least with Cypher and Consort Oldham, was the treatment of Flim and Flam, and since it probably will still take a while until I get to this episode analysis-wise, let me just say I am with those two. Flim and Flam are portrayed as bad guys for the sake of the story Emma Larson wanted to tell, but they actually are not. The episode goes out of its way to make us root against the brothers, but a closer look reveals that actually the apples are in the wrong. But more on that when I get to the episode. Well, apparently I am not the only one who thinks that Fluttershy's treatment by her friends is kind of wrong. Dusty Brony and Aaron Bundy back me up in that regard. Even so, Eevee Princess makes an interesting point about Fluttershy being actually quite assertive and dominant when she wants to, leading to the speculation that her shyness is actually just a ruse on her way to secretly taking control. Now for some aspects I have mixed feelings about. Patrick Songchrist, Owen Stevens and Ice Matador feel offended about the way Sakura is presented. I really see where you're coming from, and I admit that her character does feed into stereotypical cliches about Africans and therefore into racism. But the positive light Sakura always gets featured in, namely as the wise one who knows the correct answer, makes it hard for me to feel offended by the stereotypical tropes used for her. Mad Rush and Sleeping Silent Bell complain about the lack of lore in MLP, another tricky one. I would like to see more lore as well, but the conclusion of long discussions with other Brony analysts was that the lack of lore, that all the unanswered questions within MLP are actually one of the strengths of the series. If everything would be answered, there would be far less room for the imagination of all the fiction writers and artists. But I do know the unsatisfying feeling of just wanting to know more, so... Another one was brought up by Fang and Claws in his introduction video. He doesn't like the phrase "welcome to the herd." He explains that herds are used as a defense tool by animals to look more threatening towards predators by becoming a big mass. But he sees this way of giving up individuality when becoming part of the herd is wrong, because it contrasts the Brony community's diversity. I can see your argument, but I do like the phrase. Well, admitted, we used the word offended rather loosely so far, but with some issues that had been brought up, I am not sure if they can really be seen as offensive no matter how loose we use the term. Like the lack of screen time for Luna, the stereotypicness of the dragon bullies, or the character of Gilda. Robin spent 3 minutes in his video response pointing out how much he is annoyed by her, and well, that's pretty much the thing. The last few ones sounded more like annoyances than sources for actual offense to me, but well, not really the point, I guess. And just a few more interesting ones before I finish up here. The first one comes from the Foxy Assassin and Miss Fluffy Ninja. Did the two of you plan this? The Foxy Assassin and the Fluffy Ninja just happen to address the very same aspect? How sneaky. Well, they both have a problem with the superficial behavior of the upper class ponies in Canterlot. I wish I could say that this kind of offensive behavior is just only part of the world of MLP, but sadly it is more a caricature of real life douchebags. The second one is from 1969 Ubik, who has a bone to pick with Emma Larson's style of storytelling, elaborated on the example of Magic Duel. And for this episode's top comment, or should I say top comments, I thank the Rubber Fury and Peatman for pointing out a defiancy within MLP that often gets overlooked, even so it is more or less omnipresent. The double standards within the pony society, the writing and the view of the fans. The protagonists can pretty much do whatever they want unpunished. As long as they learn a lesson at the end, everything is fine. While the show's quote-unquote villains often enough spread far less havoc in comparison, but receive the full-on bad guy treatment. Okay, AnYPony, one last advice: be careful what you write about books in my comments, because the Birdman is watching. This is the AnYPony saying see you soon.